Welcome back everyone. Today we've got a gear cable to change, this one here. Look at this beauty. Internally routed, Giant Propel, probably the worst reputation in the world for cables through this stem. So this could be an interesting one. So the cable's going through the bar, through the stem, and I'm not entirely sure where it stops after that. So let's get in and see what we're going to do. So the issue being, gears are not changing particularly well. It's had a new inner cable by myself fairly recently, but it's still not 100%, so we're going to bite the bullet and we're going to change this gear cable housing, which could potentially be a bit of a nightmare. So first of all, obviously take this cap off and see what's going on underneath there. I'm not entirely sure where this cable is going to end, but I know it's not going to be easy. It's just going to be a nightmare. There it is in there somewhere. Right, let's get this off. I know the lads on Bike Speed have done one of these recently where they did a brake hose, I think, but I think theirs was Di2, so let's see what we got in here. I can't remember, I've been in here once before, but I can't remember what's in here. Just a nightmare, probably. Okay, here we go. So, the cable is going down here somewhere. These things here, these just basically just bits of rubber that clip in together, hence they've suffered a bit over the years, so we need to really just raise this stem up. A bit more space to work with. Yeah, I'm just going to loosen these and raise the stem a fraction. You need to take them all the way out, or just loosen it, and obviously take this top cap out as well. Or at least loosen it. I'm just trying to get a bit more space so I can unclip these really more than anything. I don't really need to take the whole thing apart. Yeah, that's all we needed. And these will come out. There we go. Just got the fork resting on my stool at the moment and take the pressure off it, and now I've got a bit better access to this here. These are just bits of insulating foam that have been slotted over there. The cable tie here. Well, one good thing is the cables are not going through the headset bearing itself, so they are just off to the side of it. So that's the end of the cables there, so it's not too bad. So the inner cables should have a line all the way from here all the way through to the back. It could potentially not too horrific, so let's disconnect the rear end and see what we can see when we've done that through here. Just drop it down to the smallest one. So this is a new inner cable, but the plan originally was to limp this through until winter to do all of it, but it's just getting unusable, so we've got to do it now on a fairly quick turnaround because we need it done today. Right, what I'm going to replace this with one of the Shimano flexible cables as well, because that works better than this. Alright, so we can take that off. Take this piece out here. Right, so that's just the liner that goes halfway through the chainstay. And that's loose now, so we should be able to see at the other end what's happening. Looks like someone's already done this at some point in the past, because they're not sort of giant OEM ones. The problem is you don't know if you've got a full liner that goes from there down to the down tube and down to the bottom bracket, or if we pull it out we're going to struggle. Generally on Giant it's been pretty good that they have got liners in there. There's no way we'll do this without at least semi-unwrapping the bars. So this bar tape is starting to wear here anyway, so I think we'll end up changing this bar tape, so let's cut that off. Cut this without cutting the bar obviously. Alright, so we needed access to this end of the cable, which is why we've done that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull a bit of cable through and get it out of the lever. So we just need to pop this thing right out. And there's the inner there. Alright, so that should just push through the lever, like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off just here. I know it's a new inner cable, but the chances of getting this all the way through this new outer is just pretty much non-existent. So we're changing it again. Right, so that should come out of there now, like that. Keep this piece, this is special for the lever, it's got a little slot in it. It is quite a short run on this bar, so you'd be pretty straightforward just to poke it through. Going through there, it shouldn't be too much of a challenge, but I think we'll leave the inner in for now. Just pull this through. So you can see the kink in this cable here, that's probably ultimately here. That's what's been causing the shifting issues. This has got a big kink in it, which is where that is, so that's why it's just been struggling a bit. So what I'll do first, I'll cut a new piece of inner cable for this, get it threaded through while we've still got this inner cable in there, and that's half the job done. So I'll just cut a new piece. I'll just use this as basically a guide to get it through the bar. It's a pretty straightforward bar to cable up anyway, so Not too bad. Well, that should just go through there now quite easily. He says, yeah, there we go. So that's half the job done. Now we can take that out, we don't need that for now. Right, we don't need to worry about that for now, we've got it in where we need to be. What we need to worry about now though, is what happens to this cable when it goes in the frame. That could be the potentially challenging part. Like I say, I have done an inner cable on this bike before and I don't remember taking anything else out, but it's already connected. I can see a liner in this bottom bracket cable guide here. So let's take the presumption that it's lined from the headset to at least halfway through this chainstay. And then it's just a matter of poking it through the back of the chainstay, which isn't too bad. I'm going to live dangerously, I'm just going to pull it out. So I'm just going to pull it out from the back here and wave it goodbye. Wish me luck. So I'm going to just prod this through here and see if it feels like it's going through the frame. I hope it does. Otherwise I've just made a lot of work for myself. Like I say, on Giants they're pretty good normally, and I have changed this before without issues. So I don't think it's going to be so bad, hopefully. Feels like it's going somewhere, I can't hear it rattling around in the frame. It should go through, that's the bottom bracket there, I can feel some resistance there on the bottom bracket, so that's gone all the way down there. Hold it there. And that's exactly the same length of cable from there to the bottom bracket, so it's definitely going through there and through the down tube, so that's good. Worst case scenario, we've got to take that plastic guide out of the bottom bracket and play with that. So I'm just going to work on getting this cable outer housing fitted into the lever first of all. So you do need this piece here, it's specific to the cable, to the actual lever, it sits in here in this slot, so you must fit that piece. So that just basically goes on the end of that. What I'm going to do first is put the inner cable through, make it a bit easier. Because we are going through such a restrictive area, I'm going to use some cable grease on this one, this is Shimano one. I don't always use it, but especially when you're having issues and you're going around some pretty sharp bends, it can definitely help. So let's get some grease on this one. Don't use anything other than a very, very light grease, so this cable grease is perfect. Okay, so it's a bit of a challenge to get this very rigid piece of cable to bend in there and go in, so I'm just going to take the lever and move it around slightly. So I mark it up first. That's already marked. Someone's been in here before over the years, which is fine. So I'm just going to loosen this up to straighten that up. That'll make it much easier to get in. Okay, so that's where that needs to be. We need to make sure is that cable's pushed all the way on its housing, which I know it is. Yeah, that's seated properly, so we can tighten this lever back up now. Alright, so that's that piece in. Now we can thread this inner through again. We've already got grease in the cable now from the first time I pulled it through, so that feels nice and slick. Just refit this plastic cover. Okay, so we're done at that piece. Just refitted that housing on here, which is an aluminium one, which is pushed all the way home. Next. So we'll start to thread this inner cable through the frame until it gets to the bottom bracket, basically. You know, it stops there. It'll probably go with a bit of a push, but it is stopping there at the moment. Right, that's stopped at the bottom bracket. It's going through, I pushed it through. Good. Right, this should come out the chainstay, hopefully. You can hear it. So it's about here now. Gravity's your friend here. If you just rotate the frame through 90 degrees, it will just drop straight out here, but I'm just going to persevere. I have this little flexible magnet I bought. It fits down into the frame itself there. So what I'm going to do is just jiggle the cable around and hopefully it'll just grab the end of this. I know it's a stainless cable, but it does hold it just. There we go, through. Easy. So now back up to the stem, we'll just pull that inner through from the rear end and make sure this locates where it needs to be properly. That's the only thing that's going to stop it working now. Right, that's dropped down into where it should be now, so that's done. What I'm going to do before I go any further is I'm going to refit the wheel. We've got a new cassette to put on this. We've already put a new cassette on, but we changed the ratio, so we're putting a different cassette on. So I'll refit that and we'll see how the gears are before we put anything else back together. So I'm just going to swap this cassette over. We've gone for a slightly smaller one. The customer's finding the jumps on this just a little bit too big, so just swap that over quickly. So just a quick one. This is an aluminium freel body, so it's quite soft. Basically the cassette, it's only been on probably a couple of months, not even that. It's biting in so that it won't pull straight off. So rather than just getting screwdrivers in, all you need to do is just tap these sprockets backwards, hold the cassette and just tap them backwards, it'll just loosen it off like that. You need a little rubber mallet. One at a time. Like that. It's not seized, it's just biting in. So a lot of people will tell you to put grease on here. I mean, it's not a bad idea, but to be fair, I don't think I've ever seen a cassette that's seized through rust onto a freeheld body. They always seize because they're biting in, basically. I'm not sure if it is aluminium or not, but it's you can see where it's been biting in on there. It's quite a big guy, so it's putting a lot of power through it, so we'll put some grease on there anyway. I don't remember ever having a cassette that's rusted onto a freeheld body through corrosion. Don't think so. So just line up your wide space here on this little plastic thing. The same space on the cassette. And just drop straight on like that. Try and get these started. I just use your fingernails just to start it on there. Try not to use a tool because these are only aluminium, so you can cross thread them if you're not careful. And when you're sure it's on, go for it. Right, let's just drop this back in the frame. Like I say, I'm also going to change this rigid piece of cable here for some of the Shimano flexible stuff. It does make a big difference to the gears, so I'll just get a piece of that. So this is that, it's so flexible that you can literally tighten a knot. It's amazing stuff for here. It's got aluminium end cap as well, which sits into there where it should do. It's just a matter, you can do what you want with this, but obviously with gear cables, the straighter the run, the better. But you do need to accommodate for when it's going up the block. Obviously that's going to change lengths. So this piece just drops into the frame like that. This will piece go in there, and then it makes it just to cut that to a suitable length. So this cable is basically, it's the same stuff as brake cable, so it's spiral wound instead of sort of the parallel strands on a normal gear cable. It is gear cable, it's specifically designed for gears, but it is spiral wound, so you do need to make sure you've got a really clean cut there. So just tidy that up on the grinder. You want a nice clean finish like this, and then obviously an end cap as well. That's not the end cap, you need to put another one on. So again, I'm just using one of the aluminium ones that came on the old cable because it's in really good shape. Now I'm not going to put any grease on here because it's got a good PTFE liner on here anyway, so it doesn't need it. These Ortegra adjusters are absolutely shocking. So bad. A little tiny little bit of plastic that basically holds it in when you're trying to do it. And they just break so easily. I've got some spares now, I ordered some new ones, but this one's working as it is at the moment, which is nice. Triple check your gear lever is in 11th gear. Not doing anything, so it's fell out of its housing on the lever. So it's not moving anything. You can pull the cable and shift the lever and it's not doing anything. So what that means is the cable's fell out of its housing in here. So it just sits in its housing here properly. It was in there, but during the process of threading up in the frame, it's popped itself out, which it sometimes does. That's it. Well, that's in where it should be now. Pull this cable gently and move your gear lever and it should work now properly. Yeah. That's pulling through lovely, nice and smooth. Let's connect this up and see how we go. Just going to pull a bit of tension through here. We have to say we've got a barrel adjuster, but try and get it about right. Nip this up. And hopefully this will shift quite nicely. So what I'm doing now is I'm just literally pressing the gear lever firmly without pedalling, just so we can make sure all these housings are seated properly. Don't push it so far you break something, but you do need to put a good bit of pressure on there and then click it. So we can be sure all these are pushed all the way into the air cable now. Might go for one shift, no chance. Far too much slack there. Because I've seated them, it's put a lot of slack into the system. You can feel that, that's very slack there. So we'll just pull this back through a bit more now. It's really important that you seat your housings like that, because otherwise, the first ride you go out and put it in anger, it just sets the gears totally out again. Right, one click on the bar now, hopefully it should move a bit. Yep. That's this barrel adjuster now. A bit more. Right, we're nearly there now. One click. Perfect. Good, so now we can put the rest of it back together and know the gears work. Okay, I'll just finish up this end now. We're happy that the gears work very nicely. We might still need a bit of a tweak on the B tension because we've dropped the size of the cassette larger sprocket, so Right, so I've inspected this front one, and basically because it doesn't have that kink in there, it does look new as well. It's got all new bits, so I'm going to leave it as it is, to be fair. I say the customer's in a bit of a hurry to get this back, so that's how they sit basically. Drop this stem back down now. Just refit this top cap now. Oh, that feels really good. No play in there, just rock the bars side to side and you can feel the headset play straight away. That feels really good, so we just need to tighten these up. We need to get the wheel straight first, get the wheel in. 5.5 Newton meters. So part tool one's adjustable, so we go to 5.5 as requested. Just tighten them evenly. And then put the foam on, put that top gap back on. Refit this. And this needs to go back on there. Such a tight fit. Oh, this is too short. Alright, so I've just ended up refitting a new cable in there because the one I cut was probably about 3mm too short, which meant it wouldn't go through this cover here without damaging it again. So I've just redone all that again off camera. To be fair, it didn't take very long at all. You don't really need to take this headset out. I mean, it's beneficial because it gives you more access to see what you're doing, but you don't actually need to take this out. I've just done it again without doing that, and it was pretty straightforward. So, right, I'm going to get this cover back in. Just going to trial fit it first before I put that foam back in. It's very, very tight. And that's basically how that sits there. So if you cut this cable even like millimetre, 2mm too short, it won't go underneath this cover here. So I'm going to try and put this foam back on. I'm not convinced that this is particularly beneficial, but it was on there anyway. I think, to be fair, it's doing more harm than good. It's taking up more space than we don't actually have. I don't really see much value in that one either, to be fair, but it was on there. That's where that was. Good. Alright, see if we can get this cover back on. And then it's a matter of getting these 4 tiny little Torx bolts in. There's not a lot of room. Alright, that's good there. So yeah, I could have done the front one, but you know, it doesn't need doing, and I just end up charging the customer twice as much for a job that doesn't need doing. Shifting lovely on the front. Struggling to get this to line up, so just use an Allen key and press it down till you find the hole. It helps you to line things up. Once one goes in, the rest of them will drop in easily. So. Right, there's one started, good. Don't tighten it all the way up yet, just get the rest of them in and then tighten it. This is just purely a cosmetic cover, so don't go crazy with the tightness on this. I'm just going to close this B tension up ever so slightly, so we should have about a 6mm gap between this sprocket here and the top of this pulley wheel here, so I'm just going to back that out a bit more. That'll only improve the shifting. And about there, that's good. Right, let's just run through these one more time, up to the big ring. Lovely. The small, change a bit big now. On the small, this chain's a bit big now, so I'm going to take a link out. Just going to go big to make sure we got capacity. I'm sure we did. No problem. We've got all this capacity spare in big, so we can definitely take one out. Right, so we're in big now and we've still got some capacity in there. Drop down small. Much better. Right. Perfect. Right, so about done. All I'm going to do now is wrap the bars. So I'm using this Rider Ace tape. It's been recommended by quite a few people on my videos on bar tape. They said this is basically a complete replica of the Supercaz tape, so I'm going to give this a go because it looks really nice. Yeah, so you can see it's basically exactly the same, feels the same, looks the same. tenth of the price probably. I can't remember how much, it was £3 or £4, something like that, so it was very, very cheap compared to Super Cazzes. But yeah, people have been raving about this, saying it's a fantastic tape, so let's get this on. It's gone on quite nicely. I'm just going to tuck this end piece in here and do the other side. Nice tape that, very grippy. Right, let's just wrap this end up now. Right, let's just get the other side wrapped up. Right, that's all wrapped up. Quite a nice tape that, very nice grippy. All done then. Not too bad actually, to be fair. I thought it was going to be a lot worse than that. Shame we have to unwrap the bars to get to this small section here, but it can't be helped. Yeah, you just got to be super careful with the length of that. If you, like I say, if you get it even a millimetre, 2 millimetres short, you're going to struggle. You've got to get it absolutely perfect. I thought I had, but I hadn't, so I did it again. Not a problem. Probably don't need to take this apart, but might make it slightly easy for you, to give you a bit more sort of clearance and be able to see what you're doing, but it's not essential. So yeah, all done. Shifting absolutely beautifully now. And going back to the customer shortly. So yeah, I'm going to try and keep these midweek videos coming for you when I can. I'm a little bit restricted on time at the moment during this time of year, but my plan for the channel really is sort of a midweek little bonus video like this, and then at the weekend the longer service or product comparison videos. So I'm not a full-time YouTuber, so time may be a bit restricted, but I'll do what I can and get bits and pieces up for you when they come in and when it's interesting. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. If you're not already done, like and subscribe, all that great stuff, really does help the channel. I think pushing 6,000 subscribers at the time of recording this. I don't know what we'll be on by the time you watch this, hopefully nearer the 10,000 mark. That's my sort of target for the end of the year, so we'll see where we get to. Yeah, so thanks very much.